In this video, I want to talk about double inequalities, which are also called compound inequalities. I wanted to look at how to solve the compound inequalities, and I wanted to look at two examples. So let's look at the first one. We'll just work through them. Okay, as you notice, this is a problem that has two inequality signs. Our goal here when we want to solve this is we want to get x at the end, we want x by itself in the middle. Okay, we obviously have something larger. So basically the way you approach this is whatever we need to do mathematically to try to get x by itself, whatever we do to the middle, we have to do to both sides. Similar in a regular inequality or equation, it's just as long as we want to keep the ratio the same. If I multiply something in here, I've got to do it by all sides. This one, this one, this one. Okay, so let's just approach this one first. Since we have 3 in the denominator, our first step is to get rid of that 3. We can do it by multiplying each side by 3. So let's do that. We'll multiply -8. Okay, I multiplied everything by 3. By doing that, our 3's cancel in the middle, getting rid of the denominator. Okay, so no more denominator. Now as we approach this, we want to get rid of the 5, and we can do that by subtracting 5. We just have to subtract from all 3 sides. Okay, we are almost done. We have 2x and we want x by itself. We can do that simply by dividing by 2, as long as we do it all 3 sides. Okay, now remember, if you're dividing by a number with an inequality, if it's a positive number, you don't have to worry about changing the directions. If this had been a -2 and you had to divide by a negative, you would have to change the direction of the inequality sign. Well, we don't have to. That leaves us final answer right here. Now, we want you to write the answer in interval notation, so let's look at that. You don't have to draw it out on a number line, but I'm going to just to kind of show you. So if I were to take a number line and graph out the solution, we have, okay, here are 2 values from least to greatest. And remember, x is saying it's something greater than or equal to, I'll use pink, greater than or equal to, but also less than 7/2. So it's somewhere in between those 2 numbers is my solution. And what we have to worry about is what happens at the end points. Okay, so let's see. Let's look at -29/2. If you notice, x is greater than or equal to. So if you have an equal to sign, that's the same thing as marking. We mark it with a closed dot. Okay, that means that -29/2, the actual point, is a part of the solution. But if you notice here, we have just less than, but not equal to. So we will denote that with an open circle, which means the solution gets really close to 7/2, but not actually equals 7/2. Okay, but right here, this is my solution. And if we transfer that and write it in interval notation, we use our endpoints. Okay, main thing to remember is if we have less than or greater than or equal to, that's the same thing as a closed dot, which is the same thing as a bracket. All these go together. And then we strictly have less than or greater than. That's an open dot and a parenthesis. Okay, so you've got to determine whether it's equal to or not, and that's whether you have a bracket or a parenthesis. This is my final answer. Okay, that's my first example. Let's look at one more. Let's see right here. Okay, so for here, we're solving the double inequality, right? We want x by itself. So first things, let's get rid of this parenthesis Remember, this negative is like an understood 1, and you can distribute the negative through. So let's do that. We have here. -6 minus 5 gives us -11. And here we are. All right. We want x by itself. So let's get rid of the -11. We can do that by adding 11. Everywhere, that gives us okay, we're almost through. Notice we don't have x, we have -x. We want positive x. So remember, this is like an understood 1. Okay, so to get rid of that, simply we can divide through by -1. Okay, so here's one of these. I wanted to include an example like this. We're having to divide by a negative number, which is perfectly fine to do. But remember, if you divide or multiply by a negative number with an inequality, you have to change the direction, right? Change the direction of the sign. And same thing with that one. All right, this is my answer. Okay, and we want to write it in interval notation. Now make sure, some of the mistakes I've seen before is people want to write it in interval notation from -11 to -14. But for interval notation, it has to go from least to greatest. It has to go in the correct order. We know that -14 is smaller than -11. So if you want to draw it out, you can. You don't have to. But if you drew it on a number line, see, -14 is actually smaller. So it's kind of reversed. So x is anywhere in between here, right? We just have to get our endpoints correct. So at -14, it is greater than or equal to. Remember, we can draw that as a closed dot or a bracket. And that at -11, it is not equal to. Okay, so this is my solution, my interval. And we would write that. This closed dot means bracket, open dot, parentheses. This is my final answer.